really have. It's
incredible, isn't it?
It's so lovely to see how far he's come, because he come on the show before he was going to do Strictly, and I said, Chris, how are you going to do it? He went, I honestly do not know.
Yeah.
I haven't got a clue I'm going to do this. I said, well, what are they going to do? He said, he just couldn't tell me. He didn't believe in himself at the time, so to see him go on and win Strictly is incredible.
He's the most lovely person. He began to go blind when he was only 3, 4, 5 years of age. It's an inherited characteristic. And he had gone fully blind by the time he was 18, 19, 20. I did an interview with him earlier in the year, and I was reduced to tears just being with him, because his positivity he's a remarkable human being. He's just full of energy, love, and he just wants to inspire people, and he does. Yeah. I mean, it's the most amazing achievement.
It's amazing. And also, because he said as well that it wasn't necessarily that he was inspiring other people who have got sight difficulties, it was showing the rest of the world what is possible. Because I think it's perhaps people who are sighted who can sometimes underestimate what can be achieved.
Yeah.
He turned it down twice before. You know, he was asked to be on Strictly 2 times before, and he thought, it's out of my comfort zone. I can't do this. I can do all the funny bits. I can't dance. And then he was persuaded to do it, and he did it triumphantly. And he was up against amazing competition. I mean, in the leaderboard, he was just 2 or 3 behind the sighted people. I mean, but the public just adored him. And he is now... Actually, he's a national role model. Yeah. If you think you can't do it, you can do it.
Well, yeah, that waltz there from week 5 to You Never Walk Alone got straight 10s, and he was on Today programme on Radio 4 last month. He said it goes some way to stretching people's idea of what is possible for a person with disabilities. He added there is low expectations of people with disabilities. Sometimes you'll come down a set of steps to a taxi and people will say, wow, how did you do that? So just to move that conversation on, just show people what's possible is so interesting. Let's speak to Rashmi Becker, who's joining us today from Step Change Studios, the UK's only blind dance school. Rashmi, thanks so much for joining us. Have you seen an increase in people contacting you since Chris joined Strictly?
Absolutely, we have. It's just been such an inspiring journey. And I think he's been showing blind people and the wider public what's possible. And as you talked about just now, limited expectations. We find that a big barrier is often a psychological barrier that people have because they're so often told what they can't do rather than what they can. And so when they come to our classes, they can be really apprehensive, and very quickly they realise what's possible. So creating those opportunities is really, really important, and Strictly's just helped raise the profile.
Rashmi, what have your students said about Chris taking part in Strictly this year?
They've been so excited. I think it's just the energy behind him taking part, the media, the public, everyone's got so excited. And for our students, we've been running these classes for a number of years. And, I'm often told and asked, and as are they, how do you dance when you're blind? And I think Chris has really answered that question. So we've really seen more and more people being interested, wanting to join. We've also had interest from outside of the UK. So we've had queries from Canada and Australia and Poland, and a Japanese newspaper wrote about us because they also are following Strictly, and they're energised and want to know more about how you can be more inclusive when it comes to ballroom dancing.
Rashmi, it's important to mention Diane Buswell in all this, because, you can tell us from an expert, teaching someone who's visually impaired, how different is that?
Well, that's really interesting as well, because, as you mentioned, as far as I know, we're the only ones running a blind dance programme that's focused on ballroom. And I think a lot of dance teachers out there also get nervous, and they're afraid of saying the wrong thing or not quite knowing, how to teach, but they have that ability. And it's about tailoring things to the person that you're teaching to. So when it comes to blind people, again, everyone has a different experience in terms of their sight loss, whether they're born with it, whether they've developed it later in life. And so it's thinking about things like how you would use other senses and things like physical touch, particularly because ballroom's about being in hold, for example, and there's a lot of contact, so you can use your physical touch. It's about how you use your language and being more specific and being more descriptive. So we can get quite lazy and say, follow me, and you rely on visual cues. So it's about how you can describe a movement so that people can understand it. How you use your voice across the room, and how you use the music as well. So those are just some examples.
Chris did say, didn't he? Well, you know, Diane was the best teacher he ever could have had. Like, to use all your other senses to help people there, and to go on for a win, it couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke. And every time I bump into him, he actually makes me cry laughing. He is so incredibly funny. Yeah.
Rashmi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.